Hi students, and welcome once again to my Limitless English. As of today, we are supposed to continue the module 3, which we started basically last class. But anyways, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to record the full module 3 just in case we need that for a little later. As of now, classes has been put online because of the things that are going on with the rain in our country. So the idea of this video is so you could have the information of the exercises that we're going to complete that correspond to the Saturday class, and that you'd have time in order for you to repeat it and be able to complete the exercises. So as soon as you get this section, the idea is that you could watch it, stop whenever you could stop, complete the exercises similar to what we do in the class, and then after that be able to show the evidence that you have completed those exercises. I'm going to be taking the attendance right before I put this video, so you are supposed to be logged in tomorrow at 9 a.m. from 9 basically to 10, and then after that we might give you like some time so you could be able to complete and send the evidence. But it's all right. Let's get started in this section. The first section of Module 3, I basically ask you students in order to copy this section that has to do with the beginning. Most of you already copy it, so if you copy it already, you could just skip it. But I'm doing it like this, so like that we can see the full module, okay? So take some time and copy this if you were basically absent last class. After that section, then you're gonna go to the vocabulary section. Here, you need to match these pictures where they belong. One number would be A, which one would be B, which one would be C. And yes, we have some community actions over here, and basically we're gonna be talking about a lot of personal things. So here you got recycle all materials. Anything that you have here that maybe you don't understand, make sure that you always investigate on it so you can know what we're talking about. Pick up litter in your neighborhood, and yes, we do that a lot in the Dominican Republic, right? Help the elderly people. Do you help? Donate to charities. Look after stray animals. Maybe they are talking about a different country. Or in the next section, use the vocabulary on the right and the ideas below to make sentences as in the example. Here, I basically told you guys in class to complete only 2 sentences. So like that, we could make sure that you understand this section, okay? Have food to eat, not so much garbage, neighborhood, be clean, is your neighborhood clean? Improve their quality of life. And then the idea is that you could do something similar to what we got here. If we recycle all material, there won't be so much garbage. You pick one of this, or 2 more of this, and then you complete a sentence similar to the one we got here. Over to you, it says impair. Think of your community. Even though this class you're not going to do it in pairs, but we can do this exercise when we'll get back to the class maybe next week, okay? What could you do to make it better? Tell another pair, and start thinking about what things you can do in order to make things better, especially in your area. You know, if you have like a lot of garbage around, it does not hurt like one day you come out and try to throw the garbage away. But we'll continue. This we did it, I think, on the last class, and the idea is that you could identify the people from the society. All right, who are the rich, who's the poor, the young, the blind, the homeless, the elderly, the unemployed, and the disabled. All right, so check, and if any of that vocabulary is not familiar, you always verify. I'm going to play this section only so you can have the listening. I'm going to play all the listenings in this video so you can have all the material that you need in order to complete the exercises with no problem. Listen. Listen for people talking. Which group does each belong to? So you need to put what group they belong to.
I lost my job 6 months ago because the company I worked for went bankrupt and had to close down. I've been looking everywhere for another place to work, in the newspapers, online. I even go around personally to businesses and leave my resume with them. So far though, nothing. I hope something comes along soon.
Sandy, Since my car accident when I injured both legs, I've had to learn to get around in a wheelchair. I've been having physical therapy for 3 months now, and I'm told there's a good chance I will walk again. Meanwhile, I try to stay cheerful. Most people are very kind, helping me get onto buses and up ramps and that sort of thing.
Anne,
Accepting the fact that I've lost my sight was difficult. I've always hated the idea of relying on others to help me get around. You feel such a burden. Now I've just bought the most wonderful dog. He's a marvelous companion and never leaves my side. When we go out together, he guides me safely across the road without bumping into anyone.
Bart,
Celia and I got engaged last month, and I gave her a huge gold and diamond ring. Now we're looking for a house to buy. Celia really wants something with a swimming pool and stables for the horses. So long as we find something by next June, we're getting married then. After that, I've booked a luxury cruise on the French Riviera for our honeymoon.
So there, according to the audio, you are supposed to identify who they are talking about according to the pictures that we have there too. You can always repeat it again to make sure that you complete it. I'm going to check that maybe on the next class, just your answers. All right, here we got: choose one of the members of the society from the people below and say a few sentences about the lifestyle. So think about like around where you live. How does the rich people live or looks around where you live? What about the poor, the young? What do they normally do? Do you have somebody that is blind that lives around your area or that you have seen? The homeless. Do you have somebody that you know that is homeless? And yes, I mean, at least in my area, whatever I like get from my house to work, we always see like a lot of people that are homeless. The elderly, yes, without counting Mr. Reyes, okay, the elderly, the unemployed, and the disabled. All right, disabled is basically they cannot move because they had like an injury. All right, we saw this picture. I remember we saw this picture on the last class, but it says reading and listening. Look at the people in the picture in the text. What can a typical day in their lives be like? So imagine that you are this man that I'm pointing out here, the one, you know, that can hardly walk or maybe old. What would be like his life like? Or a typical day for this guy. And what about this one, the one that looks like he lives basically outside? What would be his life like? Think about it and we could analyze it. Okay, so what you're going to do after that is that you're going to read this section. I'm going to show you the text right now, and then after the text you complete these exercises that we have here. So this is the text: a day in the shoes of. So you are basically putting yourself in the shoes of them. So get the reading. You can even pause it now, so like that you can have it all the way through. Remember, always check anything there that might not be familiar, you know, to make sure that you understand everything that is there. And after you complete that section of reading that section, then you complete this exercise that we got here. Okay, Tracy charged her look in order to, and then you put the answer. Sales assistant made her feel. Remember that you have your book too, so you can work with your book at the same time as we deal with this video. All right, the next section, just fill in. Investigate first what is eye-opening, talk, senior citizen, invisible, breezy, identification, depths, and curled. And then you need to put them where they belong. Okay, you fill in there. She has retired from work. She's Anne, and then the answer that you get from there. Living one day on the streets can be blank experience. So you need to put the word from this one we got on the top that belongs there. It seemed nobody could see him. He was, while waiting for the bus, he made small with the person next to him. Number 5, he blank up in his bed and slept. 6, the beggar's hair was dry and 7, he couldn't pay off his so he had to leave his apartment. And number 8, without any official you can't get a job. So what you got to put in there are those words that you got on the top. You can always pause it and then complete it, because at the end, remember, you need to give the evidence that you completed the exercises. let's go to the next one. All right, grammar modals revision. Okay, here we got some modals for my class, especially for you guys, level 9. They should be easy compared to the things that we have seen. Okay, so investigate anyways before you get forward. Can't, but can't as a modal verb, because can't, when you use it like about the things that you are able to do, is a different definition. So as a modal, then you get them. Can't, should, must, could, mustn't, didn't, or didn't have to. All right, and then you find examples of modal verbs in the text. You can always go back to the text, look at the text here, and you find examples of them first. And then after you find the examples, then what you got to do is, it is important for Mike to find a job. Mike can't find a job. It is okay if we go now. So you got to find in the text what means something similar to that. It was necessary for land to go. It's good, or it's a good idea to help the poor. It's forbidding to enter the area. It's your duty to inform John about it. So find a test, something similar to what we got there. In this case, it's impossible for Mike to find a job. So Mike can't find a job. You need to use one of the modal verbs that you have here in order to express that action, similar to what we have in the text. Okay, pause it, complete it, and we'll go to the next one. All right, it says here, take roles and act out an interview with the people in the text. We are not going to do that one, but you could always be ready just in case we do this exercise next class day. Next, listen to this section and we'll go for the next one. Listen.
The first thing I did when I got up in the morning was to go online and check the newspapers for jobs. Then, after breakfast, I put on my best clothes and went to a number of businesses downtown. I told them I was looking for work and gave them a copy of my resume. Most people just threw it in a filing tray without even opening it, and said they would keep it on file in case there were any vacancies. Everyone seemed unfriendly and wanted to get rid of me as soon as possible. I felt so depressed and disappointed.
We hope that things get better next time that he goes out for that. But it's alright. On the next section, guys, we basically finished 3A. So we'll continue through all of them. So like that you have the material you need in order to complete. Vocabulary, world problems, and very similar, I think, to the same problems we have all around. All right, we got poverty. Do we got poverty in the Dominican Republic? Racism. Hunger. Well, any of this vocabulary that maybe you don't understand, investigate them, especially racism, because people are saying that racism it only goes like one way, but maybe we'll talk about that later. Hunger. Population growth. Yes, we have a lot of population growth, especially here in the Dominican Republic. Aging population. Yes, we got a lot of old guys going around, and me, I'm getting old too. Crime. No, crime is not a problem in the Dominican Republic. No, everything is nice and good here. War. We don't even want to be in wars, but it might happen. All right, illiteracy. Those are people that cannot read. All right, they don't know how to read. And homelessness. Those are basically the word problems. Now, looking at these things after you investigate what they are, do we have them in the Dominican Republic too? It's a good question, but you answer. Okay. All right. Are there any of these problems in your country? If so, what do you think can help the situation? Tell your partner. Even though we are not working with partners now, but what is your opinion about how can we help on this situation with all these things that are not basically positive? You know, the poverty, racism, hunger, population growth, aging population, crime, war, literacy, and homelessness. Take some time so you can think about like what would be a solution, because the main issue and the main problem, especially for us Dominicans, is that we see things like this happening and happening and happening and repeating and happening. But what are we doing in order to stop those things from happening? And I think that's what the key is at. All right, now what is happening, what we can do, or we can start doing so they stop happening. All right, next section is the reading. So read the title of the text, the introduction, and the first sentences of his paragraph. What do you think Mitch's experience was like? A street education. They're talking about a street education. A street education, what would you do if you had a 3 months to do whatever you wanted? Mitch McGregor spent his 3 months in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where he taught English to homeless street children. Imagine. He could use all about his life changing experience. Most of my friends were traveling the world during their summer vacation, but I wanted to do something worldwide. I wanted to volunteer, but where and how? All right, so the idea here is that you can read basically the rest of the things that we got there. Let me hit it forward. And we have an audio for this section. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to play the audio. So as you read it, then you'll understand it, and you can always like repeat it again. And after I play the whole thing, then you're going to complete the exercises that are according to this section. And it's a very nice story. Listen.
A street education. What would you do if you had 3 months to do whatever you wanted? Mitch McGregor spent his 3 months in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, where he taught English to homeless street children. He told us all about his life-changing experience.
Most of my friends were traveling the world during their summer vacation, but I wanted to do something worthwhile. I wanted to volunteer, but where and how? At the age of 20, I would say I'd had a privileged childhood. My parents had put me through school, fed and clothed me, and given me plenty of love and affection. So after reading about the favelas, the slums of Brazil, where thousands of street children live in appalling poverty and often don't even reach the age of 18, I decided that I'd spend part of my summer helping these children in whatever way I could. I set off for Rio de Janeiro, where I would join a volunteer group that taught basic skills such as hygiene, literacy, English, and business skills in a makeshift school in the heart of the favelas. The residents of these slums, which stretch up the hillsides around and away from the wealthier downtown area, make up about 1/5 of the population of Rio de Janeiro. The poverty leads to many broken homes, and if they experience violence at home or their families can't look after them anymore, children end up on the streets. Those who can't survive by begging, selling newspapers, or shining shoes often turn to crime to survive. I was going to work in a school which gave those kids a basic education. My first day at school was really nerve-wracking. I'd never taught before, I only knew a few words of Portuguese, and I just didn't know what to expect. The 10 children who turned up to my first English lesson were really friendly and eager to learn. They only got 1 meal a day of just rice and beans, and at night they slept under bridges and in doorways. But these children saw learning English as a possible way out of their lives of danger and destitution. As days went by, I got used to the place. The roof of the little shack leaked when it rained, and there wasn't a schedule or textbooks. Still, the kids trusted me, and some of them made a lot of progress. During break times, we headed out into the tiny yard to kick a ball around, and I found out why Brazilians have a reputation as the best soccer players. Then we cooked and ate together, but at the end of the day, when they left to go back, where? I often wondered whether I would ever see them again. The host family that I stayed with was marvelous. They adopted me as an unofficial carioca, which is the name for someone who was born and lives in Rio de Janeiro. It was the school, though, that made my time in Brazil truly special. Even though I was the teacher, the street children taught me a lot more. I learned that no matter how bad conditions are, there is always hope for the future. My time in Brazil was eye-opening. If I hadn't gone, I would have missed out on the experience of a lifetime. If I could do it all again, I'd jump on a plane right now.
All right, and according to this experience, the question would be for you: if you had 3 months to do whatever you want, would you do something that you will help other people in need? Hey, you can stay with the answer, all right? You don't have to answer it now. So after reading that section, you can always hit it back and replay it and check. All right, read the text again, and 4 questions, 1 through 4, choose the best answer, A, B, C, or D. So in this case, you have 4 options. You need to select the correct option, and that's basically it in that aspect. There is the text again. Let me hit it down a little bit so you could pause it, and a little bit down so you could pause it again. So like that, you can read it even though you have your book. You can read it directly from your book and answer this section. The next section is with it too. It says here, filled in with the words that we got on the top. And always investigate anything that might not be familiar to you. All right, poverty, shine, truly, host, privilege, makeshift, I, basic, eager, make, broken, experience. So those, they go in these little blanks that we have here. So you complete it and we'll continue. You can always pause, remember, so like that you have the time. All right, grammar, it says here, conditionals type 3. And yes, we're going to deal with some grammar in that aspect. Conditional type 3 is basically the top, well, one of the top condition, because after that one we have one that is like the mix, but they don't really like have like a number for it. So the first thing that you had to do before this is that in the other books you were supposed to get the conditional type 0 and type 1 and type 2. And you should know already at your point that a conditional is something that it needs to happen, or there's a condition for something to happen directly. So if the first thing happens, then the second one will be true in that aspect. In this case, you got conditional type 3. Conditionals type 3, they are impossible. When I say impossible, is that you are going like on a pass and you are putting a condition on you now, thinking about when you were, for example, like 10, and now you're saying that if you would have had the chance to do something different when you were 10, then something would have been done different. So the condition that you're putting, number one, it's impossible because you cannot go to the past, and it's more impossible because you cannot change whatever happened. But get it and check the things that we got here. It says read the examples and how we form each type. Find more examples in the text. Right? When, if there is war, innocent people die. That is type 0. Type 0 is simple present and simple present. All right? We got here, if you do volunteer work, you will help those in need. All right? The type 1, you will start with simple present. What we have here is simple present. And then you have will on the other side. All right? Then type 2, if he had a job, he would earn money. But remember, this is impossible because at the time that you are talking about this, it cannot happen. All right? Type 2, advice. If I were you, I'll volunteer for a charity. So that means in that aspect that, hey, I am not you. So it's impossible after we get to those ones we got there. And then type 3, that is the impossible in top of the impossible. All right? If I had known, that means that you never knew that person. Okay? He would have helped. All right? If I have known, he would have helped. That means that you have some sections here that you are thinking about the past. If I had known, that means that now you don't know, and at the time that you're talking about it, you didn't know, and you cannot change that anymore because you cannot go to the past and change whatever it was that happened. And then you got here the reaction, he would have helped. If he had known, he would have helped. That means that he never knew and he never helped. But you are putting some hypothetical thing right now, which means that maybe if you have the opportunity to go to the past, you are going to be able to complete things different. But hey, that is impossible to go to the past and change things. Well, impossible up to now because hey, a little later, we don't know. But we're good. Check the ones that we have here. You can always investigate and find even more examples. So like that, you could be able to get what is 0, 1, 2, and 3, even though they are all like a review of what we have seen before. Okay, the main thing are the tenses that we get there and the time that we put them. That's it. All right, 0, simple present, and then simple present. 1 would be simple present and then will at the end. And then 2 would be the past participle in that case, and the past participle on the other section. And 3 will be the past and the past participle, and would, and then past and past participle. But you get there, and then if not, you can always repeat again and investigate a little more just in case. All right, after that, there are some exercises. So put the verbs in parentheses into the correct tense. Say what type of conditional is sentence is. So you need to identify. First, you need to put them on the tense that they belong, and then you need to identify if it's the conditional 0, the conditional 1, the conditional 2, or conditional 3. Okay? Remember, you can always pause so you could have time to complete it. The idea of the video is that you have all the information so you can complete all your exercises with no problem. All right, wishes. Wow, everybody has wishes, right? And I know what is your wish. You could say it. I mean, a lot of people wish the same thing in that aspect. I wish I had money. That's something that, hey, almost everybody wish about. But work for it so like that you can get your money and then everything will be all right. Yeah, we got something here in present and then something in the past. So read the examples. Which sentence refer to the present and which sentence refer to the past? Okay? And yes, here I'm going to help you basically a little bit. There you go. I wish. That means that you're talking about now. I wish I was in Rio. That means that you're talking about now. You have a wish now. And then in this case, look at the past here. I wish I had. All right? So it's already had in the past. So all this is about the past. I wish I had gone to Rio, but I didn't go. That means that you are thinking 3 years or a little more after an action that you wanted to complete it, you didn't complete it, and now you want to like talk about it or think that you were going to do something different. In this case, the two are impossible at the time that you're talking because they're both saying that you are not doing those things. But it's all right. Check. Then after that, complete the exercises according to this section. What could each person wish for? And we're talking about wishes, okay? Pete wants to travel abroad, but he doesn't have enough money. I wish I had enough money. And the same thing about what it says about Kate, what it says here about the friends. So you need to put a wish clause there, identifying the information that you get there on the top. Pause, so you can have time to complete it. All right, speaking and writing, complete the sentences. If I were Mitch, what would you do? But the idea here is not only giving like the information, is that you are able to put the other side of the sentence according to the grammar section that you're supposed to put. Simple present, wish, had, could, or the past participle in that aspect. All right, so if Mitch hadn't gone to Rio, then you got to put the answer according to the condition. If more people volunteer, then you got to put the answer according to the condition. I wish I were, and then whatever it is that you wish you were. I wish I had experience, and then you put there something that you wanted to experience according to the grammar section or using the grammar words for that to be correct on those which list. All right? Listen to this and we'll go to the next section.
Hi, Mom. How are you?
Good. It's great to hear your voice. How is Rio?
Oh, it's amazing. I'm so glad I came.
I'm glad to hear that everything is going so well for you.
Well, it started out a bit rough.
Oh?
The area where I teach is known as the favelas, the poorest neighborhoods of the city. Even though many of the students are poor and come from broken homes, they're always eager to learn something new.
That's good to hear. What do you teach them?
English, literacy, and business skills. I even give them some hygiene tips. In return, they are teaching me that anyone can succeed if they work hard.
That's a good lesson to learn. How is your host family? Do they treat you okay?
They treat me better than okay. It's like I'm one of the family. Well, I'd better go now. Tell Dad hello from me. I'll see you next month.
All right. Thanks for calling.
Remember, you can always pause and hit it back so you can listen again. It says here, write a letter to your family about your experience there. Write about the place, the school, and the children you teach. The host family, your feelings. Read your letter to the class. You don't really have to do this, just in case, but listen to this and we'll go to the next section, because we want you to complete the homework that we have on the writing section, but not yet. When we get there, I'll give you the information.
Dear Mom and Dad, hope you are both well. I'm having an amazing experience here in Rio. It's a big city with wealthy areas, but I am getting to know the poorer neighborhoods. I work in a makeshift school. Although many kids are poor and come from broken homes, they are friendly and want to learn. I teach them English, literacy, hygiene, and business skills. The facilities are very basic. We don't even have any textbooks. But the kids like me and are making progress. I really feel like I'm developing a relationship with them, and we often cook and eat meals together. As for the host family I stay with, they are very kind. They have made me feel really at home, and they treat me like family. It's great to be here doing something worthwhile, but I do miss you both. See you next month. All my love, Mitch.
All right, we're not going to complete that section, but still imagine that you are doing something positive on those 3 months that you decided, and who you are helping or who you would help. But I'll ask you that on the next class anyways, okay? In the next section, we got here Cultural Corner. This one is too easy, only has like 3 exercises. What do you know about the Glassboro Festival? So you can start investigating about it. You can see how many people we have here. And there's a video in this section that you can always check, even online, with this name, Glastonbury Festival. All right. So it says Vale of Avalon, Arcadia, Glasgow, the Arctic Monkeys, and Oxford. I'm giving you the pronunciation just in case, and we'll get down to the next one. It says read again and match the headings with the paragraphs. There is 1 extra heading, justify your answer. So you have basically 5 and you have 4 that you got to complete. Here's the text. Let me pause. Okay. And you are supposed to put 1 in number 1. Let me put it there so you could pause it and read it. And you can always use your book, remember. There you go. In there. The idea is that you can identify which one would be the topics for each section that we got there. Section 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Pause it, complete it, and we'll continue. This section is a filled in. Always check anything that might not be familiar for you. You got here performing, stands, loyal, live, music, moody, solstice, attract, raised, spiritual, pitch, and vegetation. Now, you gotta put them where they belong. All right, and you gotta put them, they are basically connected, that you gotta put 2 words together there. So you gotta find out which one would be their connection. Remember, you can always pause and complete. Find information about an interesting festival in your country. We talked about the festival, I think it was in book 2. Yes. So find out name, place, time, purpose, what you can do there, write a short text about it, and read it to the class. We're not going to write it, but still, I am going to ask you what is, for you, like the best festival in the Dominican Republic. For you, all right? It doesn't have to be like something that everybody's talking about, because maybe you have gone to one that not everybody thinks that is the best in that aspect. But yes, I will ask that question. Listen.
In Mexico, every year since 1994, the International Mariachi and Charreria Festival takes place in Guadalajara. It takes place from August to September. It celebrates Mexican music and culture. It attracts people from all over the world. You can watch amazing concerts and parades. People listen and dance to mariachi bands and see fantastic rodeo competitions including the National Charo Championship. It's an amazing festival.
All right, in this audio, the idea is that you can listen to it, and the same way that they are giving information about that festival, then you are supposed to be able to talk about a festival that you like, and explaining the things, basically what you eat there, why is it held on, and what people do during those festivals. All right. In the next section, we're getting ready like for the speaking section. It says here, making a donation to charity. Have you made any donation? It's an open question, so you don't have to answer now. So how can I help you? I like to make a donation. Would you like to make a single donation or a regular monthly donation? Wow. Maybe my wife wants a regular monthly donation. That sounds good. But don't tell my wife. All right. That's wonderful. Could I get your full name and address, please? Could you give me your credit or debit card number, please? And what's the expiration date? Thank you so much for your donation. You are very welcome. I think this sounds too easy for you guys, but it's all right. The sentences below are from a dialogue between a representative working for a charity and a caller. Which sentence do the representative are, and which sentence will be for the caller? You put a C. So if it's the representative, you put an R. If it's the caller, the one that is saying that, you put a C. All right. Pause, complete it, and we'll continue. Too easy, too easy. In this section is more practicing the conversation. Since we don't have somebody to practice with, because everybody's going to be like alone from their house, what you do is that you pronounce it. That's it. All right. Hello, WaterAid. How can I help you? Hi. I've been reading one of your leaflets and I'd like to make a donation to WaterAid, please. Okay, that's great. Would you like to make a single donation or a regular monthly donation? I'd like to make a regular donation of $10 per month. Please. That's wonderful. Could I get your full name and address, please? Sure. I am John Stafford. That's Stafford. My address is 9020 Del Court, Chicago, Illinois. And a contact number, 773-010-2424. Could you give me your credit or debit card number, please? Certainly. It's 7654-3234-9456-3225. And what's the expiration date? It's June next year. Okay, that's all, Mr. Stanford. Thank you so much for your donation. You're very welcome. Goodbye. Goodbye, and thank you again. Okay, you can always practice it. Since you are not going to have a partner, then you practice it alone. And the idea is that you can get the pronunciation, even though it sounds too easy for my level 9 students. But we gotta complete the text. Intonation, polite request. Oh, one question. As Dominicans, is it usual that you speak polite? You don't have to answer, okay? So, how can I help you? May I speak to Mr. Brown, please? Would you like to leave a message? I'd like to make a donation, please. Could you give me your name and address? Could you ask Mrs. Smith to call me back, please? Wow. This doesn't even sound Dominican, but it's all right. We need to practice it. Okay, on the next section of speaking, you read and reflect on the right, and you want to make a donation. Act out your dialogue, follow the plan. Yeah, you don't need to basically follow this. Sounds too easy for you guys, but listen and we'll continue.
Hello, Greenpeace. How can I help you?
Hello. I've been reading one of your leaflets and I'd like to make a donation to Greenpeace, please.
Great. Would you like to make a single donation or a regular monthly donation?
I'd like to make a regular donation of $5 a month, please.
Okay, that's wonderful. Could I get your full name and address, please?
Sure. It's Carlos Garcia. That's Garcia. My address is 9 Gonzalez Street, Mexico City, Mexico.
And a contact number?
551-001-1001.
Could you give me your credit card or debit card number, please?
Certainly. It's 4909-3838-5551-6667.
And what's the expiration date?
It's May next year.
Okay, that's all, Mr. Garcia. Thank you so much for your donation.
You're very welcome. Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right, remember that you can always pause it and repeat it so you can get that pronunciation again. Okay, now we are going to the topic of raising awareness. And do they work a lot on raising awareness around where you live? That doesn't sound even familiar. But raise funds by organizing a music festival or an art contest. Join a conversation, environment group, start a blog or campaign, organize a slideshow or a lecture, create informative window displays and posters, make a video and upload it to YouTube, walk through the Amazon rainforest. So those are topics that are used in order to raise awareness. Okay. The reading, this guy looks like he's basically on a countryside and around a place that not a lot of people live there, but you could check. Raise funds by organizing a music festival and an art contest. How or what things you think we could do so we could raise some funds so we could use that money in positive things? I mean, when we deal, especially inside church, we make like activities or like that, we can get money, and with that money we're able to help other people. But basically, what do you do or what they are doing around your area would be a good question for you to answer. The next section, it says the worst place to take a walk. All right, you read what we have here, even though I think we have the audio for the reading. I'm going to read it. I'm going to play it in a second so you can have it. And you can use your book too. And after the reading, then you make sure that you complete the exercises that come from it. All right, I'm going to play it only so you can have it, like that you can listen to it a couple of times. All the time, remember to investigate any words that might not be familiar to you before, right, you start the exercise. Be right back.
The worst place to take a walk. On August 9th, 2010, Englishman Ed Stafford became the first man in history to walk the entire length of the Amazon River. To be exact, he walked 4,000 miles in 28 months. But this brave explorer faced some terrifying hazards along the way. The source of the Amazon River is high in the Andes Mountains. At first, it's a gentle trickle, but then it gathers speed and widens, eventually rushing into the Atlantic Ocean at 58 million gallons a second. The Amazon runs through the world's largest jungle, which is home to 1/10 of the world's animal and plant species. It is also one of the planet's most dangerous and hostile habitats. European explorers sailed it in the 16th century, but no one was brave enough to walk it. The dangers there are enough to put anybody off. Floods, giant anacondas, jaguars, electric eels, drug smugglers, malaria, hostile tribes, and sharp-toothed caiman crocodiles. So why did Ed want to walk there? Firstly, Ed wanted to prove that this walk was possible, simply because everyone said it couldn't be done. But his true inspiration was something even more important: the rainforest itself. Ed, who was a former army captain, used to lead jungle expeditions for a living, and saw how deforestation was destroying huge sections of rainforest. He desperately wanted to raise public awareness about the issue, and knew that if he went on an adventure like this, it would grab people's attention. So on April 2nd, 2008, Ed set off from the jungles of Peru. From the start, he kept a video blog so viewers could follow his progress online. Ed recorded his many hair-raising moments, the bites and stings he suffered, encounters with angry locals, and his unforgettable meeting with a deadly pit viper. The snake, ready to strike, backed off at the last moment. Lucky for Ed. Ed faced endless challenges. After his GPS failed, he had to use a compass and a 60-year-old map to find his way. When he approached a village for supplies, he realized the village was no longer there. So for a while, he had to survive on piranha and turtles. He constantly struggled to stay healthy. One time, a swarm of wasps attacked him and stung him over 30 times. Another time, he had to inject himself with antibiotics for 3 weeks to stop a face-eating bug he caught. Relationships weren't always easy either. Only 3 months into his journey, Ed and his walking partner argued over an iPod, and his partner returned to the UK. But then, a Peruvian forest worker, Gadiel Cho Sanchez, offered to join Ed for a few days. He ended up staying with him for 2 years. One day, 5 canoes filled with an Amerindian tribe approached the pair. Some had their bows drawn, others even had shotguns. They were furious to find foreigners in their territory. Eventually, the chief let them go, but only if he could go with them. He became their guide for the next 47 days. The list of difficulties goes on and on. Crossing under or over fallen trees, wading through mud, and walking through razor-sharp grass made progress painfully slow, but Ed never considered giving up. He was determined to finish what he started. Finally, after 860 days and 50,000 mosquito bites, Ed reached his final destination, the Atlantic coast of Brazil. But the last part of his journey was also the hardest. In the last week, he collapsed with exhaustion, got an agonizing rash all over his body, and then a fierce 6-mile-wide river nearly swept him out to sea. But somehow, Ed finally made it. He is so happy that his achievement succeeded in raising lots of money and drawing attention to the many threats to the Amazon rainforest. The spectacular lungs of the planet, and a natural wonder we must conserve at all costs.
Alright, so after that section, you can always read it directly from the book too. Then you complete this section here. There's one that is extra, okay? This will be match the highlighted words with their meanings below, so you need to know what are the meanings of entire, grab attention, agonizing, hazard, hair-raising, conserve, trickle, furious, wadding, hostile, foreigners, put off, and territory. They find where they belong on the little spaces that we get there. Remember, you have the same thing in your book, so you could work with them in your book directly. All right, in the next section, we got some kind of grammar too. It says grammar relative clauses. And a clause is basically a section that is almost a sentence, but it's not considered to be a sentence because it doesn't make sense. It needs something extra in order for it to be able to be used. Now, it talks about, read the examples, which relative adverbs are for people, places, things, possessions. Find the examples in the text. So in this text, you find examples of people, example of things that has to do with places, example of what have to do with things, general, and with possession, basically what is yours, right? And you find all of them here. So the rainforest, where Ed's expedition took place in the largest in the world. Rainforests, which are home to many species, are in danger. Ed, who was a former army captain, walked through the rainforest. Ed, whose partner left him, continued his journey on his own. Defining relative clauses are essential to the meaning of the sentence and are not put between commas. So you don't put a comma between them, they make basically the separation. People who or people that destroy rainforests should be sent to prison. Non-defining relative clauses give extra information not essential to the meaning of the sentences and are between commas. Yes, this one's the one that we got here, then they need a comma. All right. Gabriel, who was a forest worker, joined Ed his journey. And that's basically the section that we get on that one. Now, the difference between the one that we got here on the bottom and the ones on the top is that this one, they don't use the commas, and this one, you need to put the comma in order to make that separation of them two. But check again and pause and investigate a little more just in case. All right. Well, you have them there. Where, which, who, whose, who, that, and who. And you got to find which one is talking about people, which one is talking about places, which one is talking about things, possessions, and you could see them as an examples there. Check. And they are called relative clauses. You can always investigate a little more. All right, it says filled in with the relative clauses: who, which, where, and whose. And yes, let me go back and basically help you out a little bit. There you go. Okay. And maybe even though at your level you shouldn't be able to have a question with this one, but because I always explain that one whenever we get who and whose. But investigate them all alone, take some time, so like that you can understand them a little better. People, who, and that. Places, where, all right? Things, which, and possession, whose. But whose includes the possession. It includes the two things, the person, who, and the possession at the same time. But we'll get there. And if you have any questions too, don't hesitate to ask me. Now in this case, you find out where they belong. If here you got to put who, which, where, or whose. Okay, the relative clauses. Use the text to make sentences about the following using the same thing: who, which, where, or whose. In this case, remember, you're using only these four that we have here. Okay. And these sentences, you are going to complete them directly in your notebook, because in the section of the book you don't have spaces to complete them. Listen and we'll
So Ed, why did you decide to make this journey?
I wanted to attract people's attention to the rainforests and thought the walk would be a great idea.
How did you manage to keep going for 28 months in such terrible conditions?
Don't forget I had army training. That makes you tough. Apart from that, I was determined not to give up. I couldn't go home and tell my friends I'd failed. I'm not like that. I always finish what I start.
What do you think was your most frightening moment?
I suppose the worst one was when we were surrounded by Amerindians. I really thought they were going to kill us.
How did you come to meet your partner Gadiel, or Cho as you call him?
My first partner decided to return to the UK after 3 months. I was lucky to meet Cho shortly afterwards. He is a forest worker. He's also a very patient and cheerful guy. He was a great help on the expedition.
You nearly got swept out to sea at the end of your journey. How did you manage to survive?
I'm a strong swimmer, and I don't panic. You just have to pace yourself.
What do you think of your expedition?
I'm really proud that I've managed to raise a lot of money and draw people's attention to rainforests.
Remember, you can always hit it back and play again. All right, we'll continue talking about problems. Match the problems 1 through 6 to the resolution. Which problems are the most serious in your country? Air pollution, garbage, water pollution, deforestation, national resources, oil, coal, gas are running out, electronic waste. We're talking about waste, but I think Well, I'm not going to think in that aspect. I'll let you guys decide. Which is the major problem in the Dominican Republic from the ones we got here? Expressing your opinion with the table and the example. In my opinion, in this case, everybody's going to be correct because according to your opinion, is your opinion. We cannot go against your opinion, even though I might think different than you. Okay. To my mind, I truly think, or I believe that the way I see it, and when you agree to something, I totally agree with you. You are completely right, or you are right also. Yes, I think that too. I agree to a certain extent, but and disagreeing when I say something or you say something and the person next to you does not agree with that, says I completely disagree, but I don't, you think on the other hand I don't really agree with you because, and then you could put both facts there and both points, so like that you could defend whatever it is that you believe. Okay, so we should all ride bikes instead of using cars. Almost impossible right now. Right, reduce air pollution, cheap way of commuting exercise, but slow, impractical for the elderly, and long journey. In my opinion, we should all ride bikes because this will help reduce air pollution. It's a cheap way of commuting and existence too. And I agree to a certain extent, but don't you think that bikes will be too slow and also impractical for the elderly to use also for long journey as you need a car? Well, thinking about this topic specifically, the way that they ride motorcycles in the Dominican Republic to be able to like be riding bicycles, I don't think it's acceptable because you know what might happen. But we let you decide too and talk about those things and give your opinion. Think of ideas for and against solution B below. Use your ideas and the phrases for expressing opinion to discuss the topic. Then you go solution B, we should recycle at home and try to reuse things. Do you think that we should recycle? And then those are the words that you use in order to have those kind of exercises. In my opinion, I believe that to my mind, the way I see it, well, I totally agree with you. You are completely right. Yes, I think that's too. I agree to a certain extent, but I completely disagree. But don't you think that, on the other hand, I don't really agree with you because, and the idea of this section is that you could talk to somebody that person would say something different, or they will agree or disagree with you, and those are the vocabulary that we use for those kind of conversation. In this section, we're going to do the listening. All right, it says listen, predicting a context. Okay, you are going to listen to Matt talking about an environmental project. Read the sentences, steam 1 through 4, and the possible ending. What problem is the dialogue about? So after reading this, you need to say what problem is it about. Then listen to this section and you complete according to what you hear. I normally play it 2 times in the class, right? But I'm going to play it 1 time here so you can repeat it.
Today I'm joined by Matt Silbury. Matt recently set up a tree planting project which aims to breathe fresh new life into urban communities. Welcome, Matt. Perhaps you can start by telling us how the project got started.
Yes, hello. Well, it all started when I moved to Linton to be closer to my job in the city. I was born and raised in a small town in the country, and it was the first time I'd lived in such an urban environment. I found the concrete jungle of all the gray buildings there really depressing. I quickly realized I wasn't alone. Other local people felt exactly the same way. So I did some research on volunteer community projects and decided that I'd enjoy setting up a tree planting project. It seemed like the perfect way to brighten up the area. I suggested it at a local residents meeting, and we all decided to give it a try. Then we applied to the Forest Commission for some money to help with the project, and, luckily, they gave us permission and money to go ahead.
Was it difficult to get people involved in the beginning?
Actually, not really. Most people really liked the idea from the start, as tree planting is something that brings an immediate and lasting change to an area. Then, as people began to see their community looking greener and more pleasant, others wanted to join in too. People keep telling me that they feel a real sense of satisfaction doing something so practical to care for the environment. I know exactly what they mean. It's actually really nice to be able to say, "You see that tree over there? I planted it." I feel that the project has really brought the community closer too, because we've all been working towards the same goal.
So what does the future hold for the project?
Well, a small group of us have started trying to promote similar projects in other areas of the city. We visit a lot of community groups and events to talk about what we've done and to encourage others to do the same.
So how can our listeners find out more?
Just go to our website, www.greenspace.org. There's lots of information there about how you can either join us, donate to the project, or even start planting trees in your own community.
Matt, thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
So after listening to the audio, then you need to do the tags, justify your answers. Matt grew up where he grew up. He started the tree planting project because he wanted to, and the community's reaction to the project was, and now Matt hopes to, and then you get those answers according to the listening. So listen again if you have to, so you can answer that question. All right, this section is more the writing. This is going to be your homework, and you need to read it or read this here, the whole thing that we have. The idea is that you can create something similar to what we have in this section, and the instructions are basically at the end of that section. So G section is your homework, so you could upload it to the platform, okay? And the last section is the one that we got here, right here. These are the instructions on how you are going to prepare this writing section. Let me play this audio so you could have an idea, or you can always take like a picture of this and follow up on that, so you can make your section with 5 paragraphs, right? Paragraph 1, those are the instructions, 2 and 3, 4 and 5. And listen to this, that is something similar to what you have to do.
Our Earth is threatened by serious environmental problems, such as pollution and deforestation. I feel that all young people should get involved and help to protect it. Firstly, environmental work would benefit young people in their future. It would be an excellent opportunity for them to learn valuable teamwork skills and gain a greater sense of responsibility. Because of this, they would be better qualified in the job market. Secondly, young people help to cause environmental problems, so they should help solve them. For example, young people use a lot of gadgets and electrical equipment which use a lot of energy. Planting trees or cleaning up beaches would help make up for this. However, some people believe it is unfair to force young people to give up their free time. They are already under a great deal of pressure from their studies or work. All in all, I believe young people should get involved with environmental protection. They have more time and energy than older people. It is their responsibility too, to look after the environment.
All right, so listening to this, you are supposed to write something similar to that with 5 paragraphs using these instructions we got here. All right. This is the last section that we have for this module. Okay. Read the title and subheadings in the text. Can you answer any of these questions? Why is it happening? Why? What is the reason that this is happening? All right. Deforestation. Why is it such a problem? How can we help to fight deforestation? And yes, those questions are for you. You should have the answers of those questions, because it happens in the Dominican Republic too. Okay. Read again. In this case, you're going to read what we have here about deforestation. There you go. Let me hit it down a little bit. Right there. You could pause it, and right there. you have it in your book too, so you could read it in your book, and after you complete this section, then you complete this exercise we got here. In 100 years, there might not be farmers burn down forests because they want to, it's the money. Many plants useful for making are only found in rainforests. Greenhouses goes increase if we should try not to eat meat that we gotta talk about those meats a little later, but it's all right. Replace the highlighted words with the words in the bold from the text. So under thread, absorb, gaze, release, delicate are home too, so you put them where they belong according to what we got here. And listen to this section. It says, imagine plants and trees could talk. Wow. Would you imagine what would they say to us if they could talk? It's a good question, but they don't talk yet. Listen, and with that, we're gonna call it all.
Don't cut us down or burn us, because this way you are ruining the world's ecosystem. You are causing erosion and flooding, as well as global warming. You are taking away from doctors lots of valuable medicines. Without us, many species of animals will become extinct. Stop being so ungrateful and greedy.
So imagine that woods were talking to you in that aspect. That's basically what that exercise is about. What would they say, and what else do you think they would say? You think they would complain, or they will be happy? We leave it to you with that section. And what we're going to do is that, or the idea of this video was that you could have all the information, so like that you can be able to complete the exercises, especially the audio ones, and you take your time, basically the 4 hours that we have tomorrow, so you can complete all this. At the beginning, I'm going to call you guys, so like that we could take attendance, and then we're going to give you some time so you can complete everything, and then we're going to connect again so I can take attendance and check or get basically the work or the evidence that you completed that work. All right, thank you very much for listening, and thank you for being tuned with My Limitless English with Mr. Reyes. Have a good one, and see you on the next video. Bye bye.